Hello everyone. I don't know if you guys can see me. Hey, what's up? Hey, Mordekainer, what's up? How's it going? Long time no see, man. Okay, so I just wanted to let you guys know I'm having some issues with my network. I don't know what's happening. So I hope it's not the case, but if it might um, drop on us unexpectedly. And also like the file that I'm supposed to be working on today, I'm having trouble downloading it. It's giving me errors since a while back, so I don't know what's wrong with my network. In the meantime, this is the last version that I did in this character, and then after this one, Oscar worked on it a little bit, and so what I figured I would do in the meantime is just to continue working on this one on some areas, and then after try and see if the file is finally downloaded, because it's giving me a lot of trouble. And if we do that, and if I manage to download the thing before the stream ends, I'll try to pass all the details to and like maybe transfer everything that I did on the sculpt to the new one. So apologies for that. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, it's not the best. Okay, yeah, I don't know what's happening. It's I've been trying. It's like the 10th time that I'm trying to download this thing, and it's just not working. So we'll just have to improvise here and try and rescue the stream. So let's go. Okay, so this is what I did last in my last stream. Like I was working on the arms, the forearms. Did a bunch of work in the hands, which again, like what I said last time, when you come back after with fresh eyes, some things really stand out. There are some things that I don't like, so we'll try and see what we can change. And yep. Hey Ian, what's up, man? Vishar, hello, man. How's it going, brother? Good to see you here. Blame Oscar. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. It's okay. Let's go. So I was working on the hands, and I was trying to like have these two fingers longer than the other ones, but I'm not sure if the index finger is working like I wanted to. I think it's too small all of a sudden, so I'm just gonna try and give it a bit more space, and then we start coming up with ideas for this. What is CMLL? You have to excuse me. I'm super ignorant of a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, and also like the interior of the fingers was weird. Didn't have enough volume. I feel like I'm so bored of doing hands right now that I keep finding the thing is I keep finding like things to improve, and I don't know, I just did it because it's important. Maybe try and inflate the finger a little bit because it was like too skinny. And then I have to move this, but it's the same polygroup, so new one. Just have to use both because okay. With the same one, same polygroup. Then just position this. And I'll just try to make the details in the arm a bit more intense. Maybe try and come up with other cool stuff. Ah, lucha libre, okay. Tienes toda la razón. Hello, Pamela. Welcome. Hope you like it. Awesome. So cool. ¿Qué onda, Sepkas? Estoy con el pass de Sculpt. Ahora me toca a mí, pero estaba teniendo problemas con mi red en general. No sé qué está pasando, porque el stream está corriendo bien, pero el archivo que me mandó Oscar no está bajando. Entonces estoy trabajando en uno anterior y pues ver qué le puedo agregar. Creo que esta parte no estoy completamente seguro de qué voy a hacer ahí, entonces mejor ni le muevo por lo pronto. Nada más agregar un poquito más de volumen aquí. Well, it depends, Pamela, what you're doing, but for basic transform functions, for really basic like move, rotate, and scale, I find the gizmo to be much faster and much easier to use. The other transpose, the old one, I still use it when I need to, for example, get a specific action, like a rotation that I like can, I don't know, extend like an edge or put some pivots in it, some more precise stuff. But for like really basic stuff, it's way easier to just do the gizmo thing. Okay, I realized that I hadn't worked on the torso. I don't know if Oscar did, I hope not. So yeah, let's see what happens. It looks like the download is stuck though, so who knows. Hey Ian, thanks. Yeah, it's going. Hello PD James. How easy it is to rig for MS skeleton? What is that? Sorry. Hello, Alberto. Diego, saludos hasta Ecuador igual. No, ZBrush cannot put mobility in by itself. You can use a rig for C-spheres. I mean, you can use C-spheres as a rig, but if you want to do production rig, you would most certainly have to use another software, especially a software that is like already primed for production. Like the first, like most obvious answer is Maya, and then 3ds Max, Blender, Cinema. Actually, I don't know if Moto also has rigging. I think so. I'm not sure. Okay, I flipped up here. But yeah, it's usually ZBrush is everything that has to do with modeling and sculpting. I think it can do. Um, but for rigging and animation, it's really a whole another story. I don't know what they will do in the future. Like now that they put finally like the folders and well, they announced it at least, and like the peel plugin for the UVs. I'm really excited to use that one, because if it's, I hope it's good enough, and if it's good enough to do basic UVing, that's a game changer for uh, like not having to leave or not having to use as many softwares as before, especially for like not super complicated stuff. Because there's sometimes assets that are really quick to UV, but they're like a pain to just export and open in another software and whatnot. For more complicated stuff, I doubt actually that it will be like super effective compared to other options, but who knows. Like I know there's Retopo in here too, so if it's like a simple thing, like a small prop or like a not a super detailed character, it's sometimes a good idea to Retopo in ZBrush, but it depends. Like it's not one of the best tools, but it's like, I mean, it's there. So for people who don't have access to other software, it's a really cool resource. So now I'm getting back into the torso because I remembered that I hadn't worked on this last time, but it didn't do anything here. Hello, Helen. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? How's it going? Yeah, the gizmo is pretty cool. Hey, Ashley. What's up? How was work today? For me, it was a fun day. There was this event in Montreal yesterday and today, the Montreal International Games Summit, and I couldn't go because of work, but a bunch of us got together last night at a bar, and it was fun. Hey Pamela, yeah, that's normal. The delay with these things, it's really normal. DAS Studio, I've heard of that, but I have never used it. Um, Is it good for posing? But for basic humans, I would assume, or like I really have no idea how that works. You'll have to excuse me, but I think it's supposed to be really easy to pose and like set up humans, right? But if you have like an original character, I don't know how easy it is. And also, I have the idea that all the characters look really generic and samey in a way, so I really haven't used it, so I might be wrong. But I see really no reason to, because if I need to post something, the transpose has been like pretty good enough for me. It takes time, sure, but I like the control of having masks and polygroups and subtools and like to be able to resculpt things, as well as like at the same time as I'm posing stuff. So that's why, yeah, I've never used that one. Yeah, for me, my morning was rough. My morning was really rough, but it's fine. I'm not complaining. And now with this weather, it's worse because I only wanted to stay in bed. It's like all rainy and like it started to snow in the morning, but not really later. Like it didn't do anything in the end. Hey Douglas, how's it going? Do I bake my normal in ZBrush? Um, I've baked normals in ZBrush before. It's pretty okay. Like it's good enough. Um, I've used like lately I've been using Substance Painter to bake maps. It's also really good. Um, depends on what I need. Like if I really want something like the normal map to be perfect, and if like thinking if it's for like a video game or so, I would probably use X normal or I've heard that um, Toolbag is really good, but I haven't used it for baking, so I don't know. But I've used X normal before, and it's really good. It's just that I haven't used it in a long time, so I would have to um, like practice with it a bit more to try to like relearn and remember stuff. But so far, for like the results that I've needed, the Substance Painter is quite good. And yeah, the thing with ZBrush is I think you cannot bake. I'm not sure, but I think you cannot bake high res detail into a low res inside of ZBrush. You can only bake if it has the same topology, like if it's a subdivision of the base mesh, and then it bakes. If it has UVs, it bakes the normal map. I think that's the case. I might be wrong, but I think that's the case. Trying to create like some bony details here. This guy. I'll rest tomorrow, Helen, I promise. After dinner, I'll just go to bed. Oh, Gozy Bridge in that studio? That's nice. That's so cool. Do you know if it works with non-human characters? Or, yeah. Or do you have to use the base meshes that they have? I really have no idea. Do you make like a rig with that? I don't know. How is the AMW? It's pretty good. I'm super down for a late night drunken snack, but just last night I was like really full. But I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I really like the combination of damp standard and standard for a lot of stuff, just for highlighting and strengthening some details. Yeah, I've sometimes used the mask cavity, but mostly for painting. I don't really use it for sculpting that much, especially because I like to have more precise control. But it's actually not a bad idea. Okay, I might work on this a bit later. But I use it all the time. I've used it a couple of times for sculpting, but mostly it's for poly painting. Because when you change the settings, it's really cool. The different types of masks you can get, and also I've also done a couple of like cavity maps with that for use in Mari to paint cavity detail, and well, to use as masks basically to that allow me to paint cavities. Yeah, Twitch I think it's working better. Cool. Thanks guys. Thanks Ash. Glad you like it. It's getting there. Cool to chat with you today. Take care, see you around. I don't think I need to introduce Ashley to most of you guys, but if you haven't checked her workout, you should do it. She's also a streamer in the channel, and she also does these amazing creatures, and I really like her style. So go check her out. She's a great artist. So yeah, slowly putting all the details here in this this guy. Yeah, Douglas. Okay, normals. It all depends. For production, you basically have a lot of options. Um, it depends on really exactly like what you need for the specific production. Some productions might require you to use like a specific software for that. Others might be like more loose with that, and then depends on like what the pipeline is and what exactly the results are that you need. In the end, like it depends on a lot of factors, but yeah, I would suggest like learning Substance Painter at least. Like I'm currently learning Substance Designer. It's a bit more complicated than Painter. Painter is pretty straightforward, I think. But Painter is really easy and really useful for a lot of things. Um, I personally try to sculpt everything that's going to be baked, like all the normal maps. I try to bake from the high res, so I just sculpt the high res inside of ZBrush and then just bake it. But I've also seen people use the multi-channel painting thing to just paint the normal details inside of Painter. That's another technique. For me, I like the control of doing the high res in ZBrush, but I mean it's totally valid and useful to also paint in Painter the normal map. It's all bones and muscles. Yeah, yeah. He needs to fatten up for the winter, for sure. I'm gonna give this guy poutine. That's actually not a bad idea. Oh man, now I'm starting to think about poutine. Thank you, Ashley. I might go for some after the stream. I don't know. Poutine is like the perfect late night uh, dish, food, snack, whatever. It's so good. It's so good, but so bad for you at the same time. So at this point, I'm just trying to enhance the details that I have and see what I can come up with. The shapes, the primary shapes are there, so I'm just adding more stuff. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so some of you guys' names in Twitch are impossible for me to pronounce. So, but thank you for the kind comments. Hey, esports pro NPC. No, actually, the Pass the Sculpt thing, it's a pretty interesting experiment for both of us, because we decided to not use a concept or not like we don't use reference, like because we do, but try not to copy ideas from other places, you know. Just start from a sphere and then just try to come up with something cool. It's usually what we found. It's and with most things that you create from scratch, you can ask all the other artists that also do this. If you start from a sphere, it's usually the first 30 minutes that are the hardest part, because you have nothing. You have like a blank canvas and you're figuring out what to do with it. So in the meantime, I don't know what Oscar process is like exactly. He might have an idea, a preconceived idea of what he wants to do. But for me, like when I start from a sphere, because we alternate. Sometimes I start the sculpt, sometimes he does. When I start something from a sphere, just usually try and go with the flow and don't just start like um, throwing in ideas and shapes. And after like 20 minutes, half an hour, there's something concrete that I can follow. And sorry, it's usually after that that the easiest part just comes, and then I just follow the whatever it's there. Like it sounds super esoteric, but in a way it's like letting the digital clay speak to me, like in a very Bob Ross kind of way. I feel like, what do you want to be, little sphere? What is your nature? Tell me about it. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like. Also, I feel like everybody just has like this mental library of images, um, things that our minds are particularly interested in. So for me, it's humans, it's animals, it's creatures, anatomy, um, some hard surface stuff. So I feel like my mind takes a lot of that information that's subconsciously absorbed and then just like pours it when I need it. After like I found an idea, it's just like it's super easy to keep going. The hardest part is just the idea. And not every day is like super productive or creative. There's also days where I'm like, oh man, I really have no idea what to do here. And I think that's normal. It's I think those days are the better ones because you have to push really hard to just keep going, because it's really easy to just try and give up. And by giving up, I mean with the idea, not like, I'm not gonna sculpt this guy again. But like in the meantime, you have to try and follow every idea to the last instance, you know. I feel like, anyway. I don't know. Okay, Pam. Welcome back. No, this is not a commission. It's just a personal project between both of us. Just a fun thing. So like right now at work, I'm quite busy because we're finishing the it's in the final stages of the production. So, and I haven't had much opportunity to sculpt. So when I have these streams, it's really cool to just be able to just freestyle. Um, I know ZBrush has a lot of really cool tools that are really useful, but for me, the thing that I enjoy the most is just like freehand sculpting. Basically, I just like use just like 4 brushes: the standard, move, clay build-up, damp standard, sometimes the trim dynamic, sometimes the inflate. But it's really simple stuff. Really, really simple stuff. And it's something that I really, really enjoy. Yeah, okay, like if you only have 5 days to do something and it has to be like a complete character, I understand. It's not cheating. Um, Especially if depending on the size of the production, if you need something quick and generic, it's fine. If you like, that would never happen in like a studio production. Everything would be made from scratch. But that's just normal. Like I've used Turbo Squid before. It's fine. It's really no big deal. I don't get what a lot of people say it's cheating. I don't think it is. Because in the end, like it's not like you you get the model and that's it. Um, Most of the time, you still have to change stuff or adapt it to what you need. Like if you're only using the model, I mean, it's also not cheating, but I guess then you're not really an artist. You're just like a finder of models on the internet. But if you rework things and adapt it, I think it's really not a big deal at all. Okay, animation with Cinema 4D, nice. Never tried it before. I just heard it's really good for motion graphics. Yeah, ZBrush is amazing just for diving in and sculpting. Well, Christian, I don't sculpt a lot of hard surface. I have a couple of pieces. I like to just maybe throw some a little bit of hard surface in there from time to time, but mostly what I like to do is organic. Like, but I did a couple of other stuff. A combination of both, I think. Rendering ZBrush is pretty cool. Yeah, rendering in ZBrush is pretty cool, except when you actually need to have full control and like what's it called, a PBR workflow, like physically based rendering workflow. Um, as as cool as ZBrush is, it's not physically based, so the renders are not really accurate. And you can do a lot of wacky combinations. You can use like matcaps and bake the lighting to get some cool effects. Um, combine some shaders. I haven't actually like taken the time to fully go in depth into it. I only used it like really superficially, but it's useful for some stuff. It's just like um, most of the time, like for example, right now I'm working in look dev, so everything you do with the materials and the textures and the surfaces it has to be like thinking about like real world implications. Like everything has to be physically based, or actually thinking about the qualities of the materials, the spec, the roughness, the metalness, the the bump or normal, etc. So it's ZBrush render. It's cool for certain things. It's just not exactly what I do, because mainly I'm more of a production artist than a concept artist. So that's my experience. Okay, I was detailing stuff that it's not even gonna be seen here. Yeah, illustration I think can be whatever you want, but there's some really cool effects you can do that are not necessarily realistic. Um, like for example, if you guys don't know who Pablo Munoz is, he's an amazing artist and ZBrush content creator. His website ZBrush Guides. It has a lot of really amazing stuff, um, tutorials and guides and uh, making ups. And like he has a like a an ebook on like rendering comic style, like cell shaded stuff inside of ZBrush. It's really cool. Like, shout outs to you, man, if you're watching this. But your work is really amazing. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna try. Yeah, exactly. That thing you said there in the end about not having to sculpt as much. I think that's my eternal struggle as a modeler and sculptor. Because, for example, I've just realized, well, not just, but okay, let me rephrase that. The easiest thing for me to work on is the shapes and the volumes. That's something that I think my brain is really good at. And when I watch a movie or play a game or whatever, I automatically start thinking about the shapes and the forms and the volumes. And the thing that I struggle with the most is the lighting. For the lighting, I have to really pay attention and have to make a conscious effort to notice the lighting. So my brain is like it struggles with that. And working at the studio with some lighter friends. So today I saw a friend of mine working on a stuff on a shot, and like the lighting was really simple, but it enhanced so much of the model and of the shapes. Then like it was really simple model and it looked amazing with the lighting. So yeah, that's true. Like I've always been working in production, except for like a few freelance stuff and small projects like as a concept artist. But basically, it's always been production. So my mind and my habits are that you should always sculpt the whole character. You should always model the whole thing because it's gonna be used in production. But like lately, for some concept pieces and whatnot, I've only sculpted the necessary things. But I still like I need to improve much more in my lighting skills because sometimes I feel like um, my models would look much better than what they do currently in a better lighting. Because I've seen amazing lighting, um, like really sometimes even save some not so good modelings. But yeah, so that's what you say is exactly right. I agree 100%. Oh, for a silver company, nice. Yeah, I agree. Like render and post for illustration are most of the work. Also, like I've seen some artists just sculpt a really rough base. Like let's say I sculpted this. This is the base, like without any detail, and I'll just render this, and then in Photoshop or whatever, I just put like textures, paint some stuff on top, and paint it, and like me do some photo bashing or whatever. I personally don't love that style. I've seen it done, um, but I always think you can always tell when when the thing was sculpted by hand, and by hand I mean like even digitally, but like sculpted, actually sculpted, or if it was like a post production trick. And I mean you can do that, but I always like to um to be able to see the whole sculpt. I know maybe that's not like the most efficient way to work in concept, but I'm not a concept artist, so I don't care. If I do a concept piece, I'll try to sculpt as much as possible. Of course, like if I'm gonna render the whole thing in the front, I'm not gonna do the back. But like with this guy, probably not worth spending a lot of time here. So I just started throwing some ideas, but who knows? It's probably gonna be like from this side, maybe even from the profile view. I don't know. Do you use more regular render than VPR? But you mean in ZBrush? What is like the regular render? I think I don't know what you're talking about. ZBrush, Photoshop, Art. I don't know who you're talking about. Hey Cameron, what's up, man? Nice to see you here. Thank you. Yeah, it's a collab piece with Oscar. How's life been? Ah, okay, best render. Um, I don't know what's up with best render. I've used it a couple of times, but as far as I know, the BPR is the proper render of ZBrush. The way like whenever you change stuff, I mean, I might be super wrong because I haven't like really looked into it, but I think like when you change things here in render, like the shadows, the BPR passes, like everything. If you look at the menu here in render, it says BPR, BPR, BPR. So I think that that's the actual render of ZBrush. Even if the other thing says best, I really have no idea what that is, and I haven't used it as much, if ever, actually. Because I remember I started looking at like some tutorials of rendering in ZBrush and whatnot, and all of them were like BPR, and then I just realized like, okay, yeah, this is the rendering inside of ZBrush is the BPR, not the other thing. But I might be wrong. I'm not completely sure. I don't want to be lying to you. Maybe some of you know more than me. Just trying some shapes here. I don't know exactly how to detail this stuff because the arms are covering most of it. But yeah, I feel like I still need a little bit more work here in the center. Just plain render in the tab. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Um, just that I don't know what you mean. Like like I said, I haven't used that the best render, so really have no idea. Sorry, but I've used the VPR, so Just try and make the skin here stretch a little bit. And yeah. It's also super important to try and see how it's working with the whole thing. I'm gonna have to check what's up with the other file. It's not I'm not being able to download the other file, so I really don't know. I apologize for that. I'm just realized I haven't saved. So let me save before it's too late. Okay, let's go. Okay, so there's a bunch of messages that I missed. Hold on, guys. Going through them. Yeah, sorry, like I don't really use matcaps except for sculpting, so I usually not render in ZBrush except for really very basic stuff. So sorry about that. You can rig models in ZBrush, but just for posing. You cannot rig them for animation. You can use like a C-sphere rig to basically every C-sphere has like a weight, and with that you can more or less try to pose the thing. I've seen some impressive C-sphere rigs, so you can do that. It's a rig, but it's not probably what you're asking, which I guess it's for animation. In which case it's like you would need an external program, like a proper 3D full software. It would be super cool though. Like if you could do rigs inside of ZBrush and then just export them with controls and everything, like with the skins already painted, that would be super cool. Because it's really easy to paint. Like basically the theory is the same. When you're painting the masks for the transpose, it's really the same thing as painting the skins for the rig. It's just the theory is exactly the same. So I don't know, it would be super nice to be able to create a rig inside of ZBrush, because it's really easy to paint in ZBrush. Trying to create a cool pattern here to just add a bit more volume here. because I need to have more information on this side. I'm trying to find like a balance here of how all these folds are flowing, and it's something that I try to do all the time to make the model not look like wet clay or like soft yeah, soft clay that's made like lazily. I try to always make it look as tight as possible. Because I don't like when things look like badly sculpted or like soft. So I always try to tighten it up as much as I can. Let me use the smooth here. I mean the inflate. And the cool thing is I can use the subdivisions to go back, fix stuff. It's really easy. Can I put into Blender to rig it? Yeah, you can use Blender to rig it. I don't know how good the rendering, the rigging tools in Blender are, but it's possible, for sure. I've seen a couple of projects done in Blender, and I've seen it gets better and better every time. Except for the sculpting thing, I really don't like sculpting in Blender, especially when you have ZBrush. It's just nah, don't even compare that. But for everything else, I feel like it's getting there. Just and yeah, I agree with the rigging in Maya thing. It's I think there's a reason why the most productions are done in Maya. Like one of the reasons is, yeah, like okay, yeah, every school teaches Maya, and almost every artist knows how to use Maya. But I think that is because the rigging and the animation tools in Maya are quite good. So since you end up having to animate something, or like everything, I mean, sorry, in somewhere in a place, I think Maya has become the default because of that. The rigging tools are quite good, and also Maya, it's really easy to customize. Like every studio has their own tools built for Maya, and Python, it's quite good for that. I mean, I don't program, but I have friends at work and other like in Mexico and all that tell me it's really easy to work with Maya. So ease of use and customability potential, I think it's a winning combo. And the thing is, like I gotta be honest, ZBrush is not the most friendly software for pipeline use. it doesn't really integrate that good with other software, because of the way it's built, I guess. And I don't know what I think it's Python also, but I don't know how easy it is for devs to do tools in ZBrush. Or I mean, it might be easy, but how easy it is to integrate them. So that's why some things like OC exist and whatnot. But yeah, for pipeline, ZBrush is it's special. But it's hands down the best sculpting software. So um, I think I don't think there's any studio or production right now that doesn't use ZBrush in a way. Because like what it does good, it does so good. There's not even a question. I mean, you could survive without ZBrush, um, but your life is just so much easier if you use it. Thank you so much. I'm just trying to create enough detail in the areas that are gonna be visible. At least here in the torso that I had not worked on a lot. And yeah, probably gonna tighten up a little bit the arms and the hands. Originally, the idea of doing everything separate, like having one subtool for the head, another subtool for these things, and another one for the arms, and so on and so on, it was because of um, efficiency. Like to have different pieces separate in the beginning, it's easier to work on different sections. But right now, I'm looking, and I like how they look separate, and I like how I can do like these integrations um, a lot easier. And so I think I'm gonna just keep it that way and not merge them, because that was the intention in the beginning, to just merge them with another Dynamesh or like another C mesh and just project everything. But I like how it looks. I might just put like the tail and the torso together, for example, but like the arms, I think they're staying separate. I like these transitions. Okay, just trying to make the intersections work. and then taking a step back and looking at it from a distance. It's also super important to do that often, because I feel like a lot of big mistake that a lot of people make, and myself included, is sometimes to just be really fixated in the details and like being super close and blah blah blah, and just working here and without thinking of taking a step back from time to time, because sometimes the big picture helps us notice things. So it's always useful to just like, okay, let's take a pause from the details, go back a little bit and see how everything looks together. I try to do that all the time, just to try and see, but it sometimes also like I forget, and it also happens that things get not exactly the way I want to. How many hours on this guy? I don't know. It's difficult to tell because like I'm not just sculpting, I'm also talking to you guys and then Oscar as well. But I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 1, 2, 3 is the fourth. Like maybe some 15, 16 hours total. Um, Maybe a bit more, but effective time I would say at least 12 hours of effective work. It's not that much, and yeah, for a whole character is not really much. Hey Maroon, ¿qué onda? ¿Cómo te va, man? Gusto verte por acá. ¿Es acaso Marco? ¿Qué onda, man? Okay, so yeah, I think I'm gonna take a pause from the torso thing, I think. And I'm just gonna try and fix the arms here, because this thing is really messy. I want it to look like individual, not individual, but I mean, I don't even know what I want to say. I want this to look stretched, but at the same time like sort of inflated. What's up, Turns boy? How's it going, man? What are you modeling? Oh my god, okay, here it's starting to be really stretchy. I guess before using the inflate, I have to finish like enhancing this part. And I'm thinking I might need like another subdivision here for the arms, most probably. Actually, I think I'm gonna use the smooth strong. To be able to just fix those volumes better. Yeah, this is getting a bit more difficult than what I thought. Especially since I'm not using like Sculptries or Dynamesh, because I already did a remesh before, because I didn't anticipate to be doing this type of detail. That's why it's a bit hard to manipulate this surface, because something that's really cool about the Sculptris Pro is even if I have since it basically does like the live tessellation thing anywhere all the time, it doesn't really matter what the base mesh is. So I can have like a full like fully retopo mesh here, and then just have to turn off backface masking and turn on the Sculptris Pro, and basically I can just like sculpt whatever I want. Wait, what? Okay, yeah, it has subdivisions. In this case, I would have to delete the subdivisions. So delete lower and then use Sculptris Pro. And then basically it's doing live tessellation on top of this thing, so it doesn't matter what the base mesh was. But that's not what I want to do right now. I'm just showing it's possible. I want to keep working with subdivisions because it's really useful for performance. And actually, in my experience, something this detailed with Sculptris Pro would be every time more and more and more slow. So I want to keep working with subdivisions as much as possible, and then try and see if I can solve that stretching problem just with just the sculpting. Thanks, merci beaucoup, my man. I think it's really cool that you're also doing some personal projects while watching. Also, another really cool thing, it's I've explained this a lot of times before, but I'm just gonna explain it again because it's really cool. One of the differences between the standard brush and the clay buildup brush is that one is topology dependent and the other one isn't. So let's say, for example, that I want to enhance all of this here. If I use only the clay buildup, for example, to push or to pull things, it does this weird thing in which tries to bring everything to the same level together. Doesn't matter where the topology is. So it creates some pinching and weird artifacts sometimes. But if I use the standard one here, it's gonna take into account how the topology is already organized, and it actually displaces the geometry in a different way. So let's say I increase the intensity for the standard. Then if I want to use it here, it's just gonna give me this effect much more clean than if I used the clay buildup one. So that's something I want to do. I like to do a lot. Like when I have already something sculpted, like let's say all these details, I can just pass the standard on top, and it still keeps the details there. It's something quite cool actually, and that I use a lot of the time. Hey Death Priest, no, this is only the arms. It's one subtool, and for efficiency reasons, in the beginning we separated everything. Like here, the head. This is one subtool. The teeth, the shoulder, um, collarbones, shoulder blades, things are another subtool. The arms, the torso, the legs, um, the spine. It's much more easier to work this way because you get to have more subdivisions in each subtool every time, and for performance it's also way better for the system to not have to deal with like a lot of polygons all the time. With very complex sculpts, it becomes a real pain sometimes to just be able to coordinate everything. So yeah, subtools, they're there for a reason. They're really, really, really useful, even if you're doing concept sculpting, because like you might think that subtools are only useful for production characters, when you have to separate everything, like all the clothing or the accessories of the character, or like whatever. But actually, they're just pieces of the thing. You can separate anything you want into subtools. So even for concept sculpting, it's really good. It just helps you be more efficient with the resources of your machine, and how you put the geometry and where do you put the geometry in. So yeah, I recommend everybody use subtools. It's really, really useful. Well, for this one, we actually just we started from a sphere, started throwing some ideas. This one was started by Oscar, and he did the first thing, which was the head and the teeth and these pieces here, like the collarbones and shoulder blades. He did that the first stream, and if you see, like, there's 3 separate subtools, 4. And then after that, I just took what he did, and then took another sphere and created the torso, the arms, and I think that was it. And then he created the legs, the tail, and yeah. So it's been a collaboration going back and forth. That's why this series is called Pass the Sculpt, because we like to I don't know, I think we have distinct enough styles to like when you see our work, you can tell, okay, yeah, that's Jose's work, that's Oscar's work, but still, like thematically, we both like creatures, we both like monsters and aliens and things like that. So I think our styles work well together. Okay, yeah, this is much better now. Much closer to what I wanted to do originally. Yeah, I had started to do something here in the forearms that I didn't really like in the end, so I took it out. Have I worked in any video games? Yeah, I have. Um, I don't know how many exactly, because I'm trying to remember. They're all not like super high profile games. Currently, I work in animation, but I used to work in CGBot in Mexico, and it's an outsourcing studio. I was there for a year, and they have really big clients. So I worked for most of the time that I was there in DC Universe Online. I worked on some other games too, some AAA games for consoles and PC, and some really small like indie games or mobile games. I don't know. No, wait, forget it. Not indie games, but mobile games, like small things. And but the project that I worked on most of the time was the DC Universe Online thing. I did characters, NPCs. I did like armors. I did a boss, like a monster thing. It was really fun. I learned a lot because I had to do like this type of work where I had to adjust to a certain style that the client wanted, and it was really useful for me to be on that project for several reasons. But I'm not like a super experienced artist in video games, especially since like my last video game gig was almost 4, 5, no, it was like 3 years ago, and I mean I try to keep in touch and to be like aware of what the industry is doing right now in like in video games, in animation, in VFX. I know of the techniques, I know of the processes, like how are they evolving, but I haven't done a video game character in a long time. I want to do one like for portfolio reasons, and also like there's a huge scene of video game scene here in Montreal, and I mean of studios. So I would like to try games in the future. Like I'm not right now in animation, but I would like to try games sometime to just see uh, how the industries work and like what's the difference between them. I think it would be super cool. Yeah, I think video games is really cool right now. Um, it's like when you compare, I don't know, VFX. It's usually you work in a lot of projects. Studios have like several shows running at the same time, so you get a lot of credits. And video games, you're usually locked into a project for several years because they take a lot of time to make. Um, and it's quite a similar but different experience in its own way. Um, but I would like to be in video games because I think, um, I mean, I like being in animation right now. I'm enjoying and learning a lot. But I would like to try video games because I think um, it would be a good fit for the type of stuff that I want to do and the type of stuff that I want to work on and my personality and whatnot. I think it would be a nice experience for sure to try. So yeah, like definitely I would like to try that in the future. But for right now, it's like I'm quite comfortable in animation. I want to stay there at least for a couple more years. I think. Who knows? It's really like with this industry, it's really difficult to tell um, what you'll be doing in 6 months sometimes. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? Um, well, I started. Um, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I started working in Mexico almost 8 years ago. Um, I started working when I was still at school, and the first studio that hired me was Render Farm Studios in Mexico City, and they hired me for like as a modeler basically, but I ended up being more of a generalist for different projects. I remember I did some animation, I did some texturing, some modeling, some rendering. I also did even like rotoscopy for some things, and I stayed there for almost 3 years. And then from there, I just started moving around, and I've done like at Render Farm Studios. I worked in animation, uh, a couple of movies, um, a couple of commercials for TV, some things for internet, and then since then, I've I've done stuff for 3D printing, for video games when I was at TGBot, and also like publicity and TV and stuff like that. And I also was a teacher for a couple of years. Um, I was teaching like organic sculpting and hard surface modeling, textures and stuff, um, mainly for production. And then since I moved to Montreal in January of this year, I've been working in animation again. So I mean, I'm not an expert in any of those fields. The only one that I haven't worked on is VFX. But there's also like quite a huge VFX industry here, so really like who knows. But I like that I have had the fortune to try different workflows in different industries and different types of production, like really big ones, really small ones, and sometimes even like indie ones. Um, so yeah, it's really fun. I feel like the most of the things that I've done, it's just like modeling and texturing. So I'm not locked into a pipeline. It's more free, that stuff. Like I can work the assets on my own and then just like integrate them. Um, so the work itself doesn't change that much. Like I've used Maya, ZBrush, Photoshop, Substance Painter, Mari, the usual stuff to work on. But it's been really interesting to see the differences between the different types of projects and the industry and whatnot. Actually, well, Montreal depends on where you live, but Montreal is not so expensive. Like Vancouver is way, way more expensive. Everyone, like, there's a lot of people coming to Montreal from Vancouver, and they all say the same thing. Like, oh, the rent in Montreal, in Vancouver is super high. I think Montreal is it's quite alright. It's the most superior form of entertainment. Like, it's one of the better ones for sure. I love video games. Um, I used to be a huge, huge hardcore gamer before. Uh, well, in high school and college. But then, like right now, I only play multiplayer games mostly, online games. It's been really hard to just get into single player again, especially because these things take really a long time. And yeah, sometimes there's other stuff. But I really like video games as a storytelling medium. I've seen some really, really cool stuff. And also as a work thing, the people that work in this industry. I mean, I might be biased when I'm saying this, but it's really some of the most interesting people that I've met in my life, because there's people from several different backgrounds, art, technology, engineering, and it's like just like a mixture of interdisciplinary minds. It's really cool, the people you find here.